Welcome everyone to this session tonight, our BullCharts User Group webinar. David Woodside, one of our BullCharts users, has prepared this set of slides and we'll be speaking to those. We'll be going through those over the next 20 or 30 minutes. So David, it's over to you.
Thanks, Robert. I hope you can all hear me. But this was made in late February, just before the market turmoil, and things have changed dramatically. But anyway, let's go to the next slide, please, Robert. Yeah, a bit about me, just very briefly. I'm a retired farmer. I'm a keen amateur photographer. I like graphical displays of data, and I like colour for a visual effect. And my investing is really trend following. So, and I've got to say, I live out in Western New South Wales, and out at a place called Griffith, who I'm sure some of you may know. And I believe we've got our first coronavirus case in Griffith today, which is not exciting. But anyway, I'm fairly well cooped up doing nothing. But no, I'm not. I'm actually cleaning my shirt out. Anyway, on to the next slide, please, Robert. So there's many ways to find a weekly trend. You can visually look at a basic chart, or you can use moving averages, or a line chart. It just does smooth out the price volatility, or using some form of moving bands, Fibonacci bands, trading bands, envelopes, linear regression bands, Keltner channels. But the three that appeal to me, and I've played around with a few, are Bollinger Bands, the Ichimoku cloud chart, and Donchian Channels. I call it Donchian Channels. I think that's the way, but anyway, that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So if we go to the next slide, please, Robert. So the Ichimoku cloud chart is been described as a one-glance chart. There's a lady called Nicole Elliott. She's written a couple of books. She is very much in currency trading. And it was developed by a Japanese, and I'm sure most of you have some understanding of it. Number two is the Bollinger Bands. This is a standard 20-period single period moving average with a standard deviation of plus or minus 2, and BullCharts has got a pretty good indicator for that. Nick Raj, I'm sure quite a few of you will know about, has modified the Bollinger Bands to a default setting of 100 and a standard deviation of 2, plus 2 and minus 1. And he uses a weekly chart to show the trend momentum, and he believes that it captures the big bits of the momentum. And in his case, you buy when the price closes above the Bollinger Band, and you sell when the price closes below the lower Bollinger Band. I think there's some slippage, and you often get late entries and late exits. And I've played around with it, but I can't. It's not doesn't interest me. So if we go to the next slide, please, Robert. Now this is Media, OMH. It's a weekly chart using Nick Raj's Bollinger Band with the 100 period, and you can see here, if I get my little thing here. You can see that I put an arrow here. You buy at about 20 cents, and you sell here at about $1.80, which I think is, there's quite a bit of slippage there. So to me, I didn't trade this stock, by the way, but I picked it because I thought it showed it well, and my feeling is that you should have exited well before that the slippage into the yellow band. I like using colour, and I just simply colour blue up the top and yellow down the bottom. So any questions? If not, we'll go to the next slide. So Donchian Channels, what are they? Well, it was developed by Richard Donchian. He was an accountant who lost most of his fortune or lost a considerable amount of money in the 1929 crash in Wall Street. And so he decided to try and develop something that would identify trends. And over a period, he promoted it, and he became known as the father of trend following. Now, the Donchian channels are really three lines generated by a moving average calculation, and in his case, he used the default period 20. It creates an upper and lower band around a mid-range. The upper band is the highest price of the security over the last 20 periods. The lower band is the lowest price of the security over the last 20 periods. And the mid-range, or the middle line, is halfway between the upper and lower band. And he wanted something that showed him resistance and support. In the 1980s, Richard Dennis, who pioneered the turtle trading concept, used the trend following strategy based on Donchian's work. Some people have suggested that currently in the modern day investing with automated computerized trading, we need to look at longer time frames. And so I decided, sort of following on from Nick Raj, that I'd modify the Donchian Channel from the default 20 to 60 and see what it looked like. So if we have a look at the next chart, please, Robert. So I've modified the Donchian Channel because I've added some fill, upper and lower bands, added a guppy multiple moving average, and I've also lightened the upper band for easier viewing. Plus I've added an 850 EMA, and the lower chart pane, which I like, shows volume and a slow statistic. So if we go to the next slide. So this is media again, and now this we need to look at this a little bit closer. If I put my arrow on, and put my arrow on here, yeah, the arrow, we've got a buy here at about once again about 20 cents, and in this case, I followed the band right up to the top, and then I've exited out here. You can see that up here at the top is the upper band. Down at the bottom of the yellow is the lower band, and in between the yellow band and the clear band is the middle band. And my belief is that once where you see caution up the top here, and you see caution up here, once it starts to drop away from the top band, you want to be very careful, because it's indicating that it's probably going to move into the yellow band. And in this case it did, but then it came out again and then rose again. But I would have exited there at about $1.10 and taken the profit. So that's the Donchian Channel that I use. Are there any questions or comments, or is it fairly straightforward? If not, we go to the next slide. I find it visually appealing. It helps to identify the trend. It struggles with non-trending markets, as you would believe, and I find it works best on weekly charts, trending up. So my philosophy is I buy when the price closes above the lower band, or in other words, it's in the upper band. Caution, as I said before, when the price falls below the top line and the upper band, and you definitely sell when the price moves into the lower band. And so we should now look at a couple of examples. Go to the next slide, please, Robert. So this one I'm going to look at a stock called RHP. It's called RIPE, and used various settings. And I'm going to look at it using a simple candlestick chart, add a few indicators, look at it as a line chart, look at it as a Bollinger Band 100 period, look at it as a Donchian Channel 20 period, and look at it as a Donchian Channel 60 period. So it's the same stock, same time period, everything. It's a weekly chart, and we're just going to look at it in various situations. So the first one is just a simple candlestick chart, and I guess it's had a good fall down here, and somewhere about here you would have entered. You would have entered probably about there somewhere, I suspect. and looking at the congestion up the top, you would have exited it probably about here somewhere. And that's, you know, that's a simple chart and it's easy to read. But I like a couple of other things. So if we go to the next chart, and the next chart will show that's just simply adding a 1030 EMA crossover. Once again, you can see that there's a buy here and a sell down here. As I say, I didn't own buy this stock. I haven't traded it, but I think I would have been out in this congestion up here. I'd have been out of it because it's simply you know, starting to show that it was becoming trendless, I guess. So that's a simple 1030 EMA. So we go to the next slide. Now, here's another way of looking at colour. This is using an 830 EMA crossover, and once again a candlestick chart, and also using guppy multiple moving averages from 30 to 50. So basically, once again, fairly simple. You'd buy around here, and you'd sell around here. You'll also notice that I've got a ribbon that I've coloured, and I call this a yellow ribbon coming out into daylight, and when it turns grey like that, it's going into darkness and it's time to move on. So that's the way I like to. I find ribbons very good, and that's what I use. So if we go to the next slide, same stock again, but a line chart. I find line charts actually quite good. Whilst I like candlestick charts, I think particularly up here at this caution area, you can see a lot of activity, and suggests to me that there's fundamentally a balance between buyers and sellers, and that stage they're warning signals to me. Once again, we've got the guppy and multiple moving average down the bottom. This stock's out into sunshine. It's now headed at the sell area. It's headed back into darkness. So if we go to the next slide, please, Robert. Now this is using a 100-period Bollinger Band. This is Nick Rogers, and this is I think this really struggles because you're buying it at about $1.15 here, and you're selling it here at about $1.80, and I think you've had quite a lot of slippage. If I roll down here, all slippage, and you've lost gone from about $3 or down to almost $2. So I don't show a great deal of interest in the Bollinger Bands that Nick uses, but that's fine. That's you know, as he said, it captures the big moves, and in really good stocks, it really does capture the moves. But for this one, I don't think it does. So if we go to the next one, please, Robert. Now this is the Ichimoku cloud chart, which you can is on BullCharts, and once again, that's you'd buy about here where the green is, and you'd sell where the red is. A little bit of slippage up the top here, but a pretty good, I think the Ichimoku chart, I rather like them because they're, as I say, they're one glance charts, and that's certainly a one glance chart. If we go to the next one, please, Robert. Now this is the Donchian Channel. This is fairly tight, but and it's 20 period. And I played around with a few stocks, and that's when I decided to take it out to 60. So if we go to the 61, which is the next one, please, Robert, and you can see that it does give it a bit more room for movement. Once again, the buy price is pretty much the same at about 60 cents, and the sell price, once it starts to drop away from the this top band here, I get very edgy, and generally I exit and live to take another day. Technically, you'd sell one it moved into yellow, but for me, as soon as it starts to move away from the top band, it's time to move on. So if we go to the next slide, please, Robert. I decided that I'd make it a bit easier to look at. Same chart once again, but I've taken the blue out of it altogether. And what I quite like about this chart, and particularly you're now seeing in the market, is these are all areas of resistance and areas of support up here. And of course, this is what happens. The area of support's broken down, and it's gone through the area of support. So I find it quite useful now to put in lines. I'm looking at stocks at the moment as the market's trying to find a bottom, and I find it very useful to draw a line, a horizontal line along there to show me where there's likely resistance and where it may bottom. So if we go to the next slide, please, Robert. What I'm going to do is just have a look at a few charts using the Donchian channels. 2 are non-trending. Remember, these were at the last couple of days of February. 2 are possible buys and 2 are possible sells. So if we go to the next one, and this is the way I use my chart. This is AGL. To me, it's non-trending. It's just simply wandering around here, and I wouldn't be interested in that. And for that reason, because it hasn't really broken clear of the out here. I wanted to see some movement upwards, and at the moment, that stock wouldn't appeal to me at all. But it had back previous in 2015, 2016, it had a good run. So if we go to the next stock, or next chart, please. This is AMP. Some people show some interest in AMP. I just can't get interested in it at all. I mean, it's had a pretty horrible run all the way down here, all the way through here, and once again, it's hanging around here somewhere. You know, I'm not interested in it. It's not going to trend up. It may one day, if it forms a basing pattern here and starts to move up, then I could be interested. But at the moment, to me, it's just a non-trending stock. We go to the next one, please. Right. Now, this is Imidex, IMD, and I was actually very close to buying this, and I thought, oh, I'll just see what happens. Wait till next week, and of course, then all things started to go belly up. So it definitely wasn't off. But the thing I liked about it was that I'll get my highlighter here. It was showing clear signs of moving away. I didn't buy it here because I thought, oh, I'll just wait and see. And I was a bit worried about the market. To be truthful, I was worried the market was getting a bit overheated, and I was being a bit cautious. So I didn't buy that stock, but it was certainly on my watch list. If we go to the next one, please. Now this is Cleaner Waste, CWY. I've always I owned it back. I got in here somewhere and followed it up here for a while, and then got out of it. And I've been watching it, but it started to move away, and I thought, oh, this is looking all right. But like the previous stock, I was just being a bit cautious. I'd taken a bit of money off the table, and I thought, oh, just wait and see what's going to happen here. And I wanted to see it head up towards this previous high up here. All right, the next stock, which is I think AZJ. They're I think you pronounce them Australian. They're railway people in do a lot of coal in Queensland, and to me they're a definite sell. I didn't own them. I did buy in here somewhere and got out about here. Got out towards when it started to get up here, and I had no interest in them. And to me, if you own them, you needed to definitely be out of them here. Yeah, so yeah, all right. So you needed to be out of here. So that's AZJ, and the next one I think is Qantas. Poor old Qantas. Next slide, please, Robert. Qantas, yeah. I've never owned Qantas. To be truthful, that's not a stock that I get terribly excited about. But I was watching it here and thinking, or why would you own it? It's into the yellow zone. To me, if you owned it, you shouldn't be in it. So to me, it was a sell. I did include in the slide a copy of the coding if there's anyone's interested, and the colouring, and it's freely available. Yeah, Robert's showing it there. I'm a bit of a hacker. I just simply went and found someone else that had coloured bands and copied them, and anyway, it seems to work. So any questions or comments? Alex has asked about where he's a little concerned about where the buy period is. I guess I look for charts like RHP, which is a good example where it's been trending down like this, and then it's found a bottom and then come out of what I call the bottom channel. And to me, that's a good place to be buying here. If it's just trending sideways and just bouncing around into the upper channel, I can't get excited about it. And once again, when it gets up into here and starts to drift away from the top band up here, then I get quite, I won't say jumpy, but my feeling is it's probably had its run and it's time to move on. So I don't know whether that answers it, Alex, but really what I'm looking for is for it to break out of this bottom band, the yellow band. And I did used to colour it blue, the top band, but I've decided that, once it's in what I call clear sky. And the other thing that also helps me is Guppy moving average ribbon. I quite like that. As I say, to me, the stock is coming out into daylight, and provided it doesn't do anything untoward, once it gets into the grey again, it's gone into darkness, time to move on to a next stock. So that's where I come from. Does that answer it, do you think, Alex?
Yeah, look, I think it does, but I'm just thinking you talk about it sort of moving into sort of clearer skies. So would you be buying at the crossover of that point that's marked there with the buy arrow, or do you wait and see that it's continuing on its upward journey?
I wait till it gets out into the upper band. I don't buy down here. If I miss that bit, I'm not concerned. I wait till it gets into above the yellow band and into the clear area. It's got to, to me, it's got to be into the upper band before I buy.
Okay, thank you.
Simple as that. And sure, I miss a bit of it, but that's me. Yeah. So, while as I say, it's in this what I call the sunlight or the bright area. To me, it's a buy, but once I get up here towards where the caution is, starts to oscillate around. I get to me, it's time to move on. So it probably hasn't really explained it that well, but it's that's the way what I use. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Thank you, David.
Anyone else got any questions or comments? I'd urge you to go and try and just see what some people like trading bands, some people just like a plain chart. I think BullCharts is a very good program because it's got a lot of colour and yeah. So and to me, it's just a sort of gives me, I suppose, I don't know, something that I'm interested in. Yeah, Cleanaway was a good example. Yeah. So, and CWY.
David, what do the number 80s mean on the charts?
Sorry?
What do the number 80s with the little magenta arrows pointing to the right mean on, say, that line chart that's on the screen down the bottom?
80 or a B0?
Oh,
yeah,
that's a breakout. that's
breakout.
one of the indicators. It's a price and volume breakout. It's called, if you look under BullCharts, it's price and volume indicator. And I just call it a breakout that sort of alerts me to the fact that things are moving along. Yeah, that's a good question. I've forgotten about that. Yeah, it's called breakout, BO. Yeah, it sounds like body odor, but it's in fact it's. And I thought, what will I put there? And I found these little aeroplanes, so I coloured them pink and stuck them in. But when you see a breakout here in darkness, I don't get too excited about it. But when I see it starting to turn upwards, then it sort of alerts me to watch it. But yeah, that's what it is. It's a price and volume. It's listed in the BullCharts indicators and price and volume indicator. I'm not sure whether it was a Wilson indicator or not, but it's under price and volume.
Okay, thank you.
Last call for questions or feedback. And while we're waiting for people, yeah, go, Des.
Hi, David. Thanks very much. Really interesting. Have you done any back testing on entry and exits?
Not really. I've probably only been using this in the last 6 to 9 months. So I haven't gone back and well, that's not quite true. I have looked at it earlier, and certainly when the market's trending up, it's very good. It's no good when the market's going sideways or horribly downward like it is at the moment. To me, it just doesn't work. It works when the market's trending up, and I guess there's a few other indicators work just as well too. But one thing I think, if you do have a play around with it, the thing I quite like about it is, Robert, if you just hold it there, is these areas of resistance and support, and you'll start to see that when you draw a horizontal line. And all my charts, I use IntelliCharts, and I'm trying to work out whether we're at the bottom or not, or whether we got one more leg down. And it's hard to tell, but you know, if it did, where would it go? And there's certainly those lines provide good resistance or show resistance and support. So just for that alone, I think is quite interesting. I have played around with 80 period and 40, but I found 60 was sort of suited my style, and that's probably equivalent to, you know, a 60 period moving average. And it is based around moving averages. That's no question about that. Yeah. Anyway, have a play, have a go, and if it interests you, that's fine. And you know, if not, go back to what suits you. Because I think charting is very much an individual thing, and some people. I probably got too many indicators on there, but that suits me. And I always like volume. Always gives me a bit of an idea.
David, very good. Again, thank you. And you've got your contact details on that second last slide.
Yep.
So people are welcome to send you an email. And these slides we should make available to everyone?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, very good. Thank you.